All right. Thank you for joining us. My name is Genghis Shakhan, and if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. It is a pleasure to have you here. And thank you for signing on and thank you for watching. We'll tell you a little bit about us here shortly, but let me go ahead and do a quick introduction. My name is Genghis Shakhan. I'm the managing attorney here at Shakhan and Wilkerson Law Firm. We are a boutique law firm and we're small on purpose. I continue to say we, it is myself as well as attorney Chelsea Wilkerson. We are a two-team tandem and we cover everything criminal as well as family and personal injury law. Just a quick disclaimer, this video is intended for educational purposes only. By watching this video, this does not establish an attorney-client relationship between you and Shakhan and Wilkerson Law or you and myself. In addition to that, this is not intended to be a legal consultation, nor should you act on any information that you obtain here in the legal theater without first reaching out to an attorney, sitting through a legal consultation, and then, of course, if you elect to retain counsel to move forward with your legal matter. All right, so we got that all out of the way. I told you a little bit about our law firm. Today we have an interesting discussion. We're going to talk a little bit about divorce, which is a very hot topic, and that's one of our areas that we cover. And one of the usual questions that we get is whether or not you should be dating if you have a divorce that is pending. It's a question that we get from our clients. It's a question that I see in the internet or on the internet, I should say. And you'll have different answers in this, usually your typical lawyer answer is going to be, it depends. I am of the belief that is generally a bad idea, but let's talk a little bit about the pros and cons of dating during the pendency of your divorce case, okay? All right, so it's a common question, and the quick answer is yes, you can absolutely date during your divorce. However, the better question is whether or not you want to date during your divorce, okay? Whether or not it's going to benefit you, whether or not it's going to help your case or it's going to harm your case. Those are things that you really want to give some serious thought to, okay? So one thing that you have to keep in mind, at least here in the state of Georgia, is during the pendency of that divorce, you are still married, okay? So, whatever your religious beliefs, whatever your religious background, you do have to, be mindful that you are still married. You are still in the union, at least in the eyes of the state. And that marriage continues to essentially be maintained even through your separation. Even if you relocate, the other party relocates. As long as that divorce is pending, you guys are married. There's no order that says that you guys are divorced, okay? And so that divorce can be pending for months. It can be pending for years. Doesn't really matter. So that's something that you want to think about. Until that judge signs that final divorce decree, you are stuck in that marriage. Now, can dating affect your divorce? That is the question before us, and it can, okay? So let's talk about some of the ways, the many ways in which it can, and some of those ways are adverse. Very few of those ways are going to be positive, okay? So that's, of course, you have to do that cost benefit analysis if it's something that you're considering during your divorce, okay? So it's not that it's prohibited, because it's not, but it just might impact certain parts of your case. And so that's something that you want to be mindful of. So let's talk about alimony, because that's a big one, right? So if you are seeking alimony, Georgia is one of those fault-based as well as has no fault-based divorces. But adultery, okay, adultery, and if you don't know what adultery is, that is going to be stepping out on your partner. And stepping out can be defined in many ways. Okay. And so I've seen it all. I've seen whether it is going to be physical intercourse, whether it is some unique form of intercourse, meaning not traditional intercourse. And I think you follow. We're rated PG here, so I won't do a deep dive. Or whether it is some other form of you know engaging or entanglement between you and a third party, that can impact what alimony actually looks like. And if it's proven, especially to have been the cause of the separation, it might be a bar to alimony. Okay, so that's something that you want to think about, especially if you are seeking alimony, on whether or not you want to step out and begin dating, if it's going to impact whether or not you receive spousal support. So some folks, depends on what you might be entitled to, and that's a conversation for you and your counsel. But that can mean tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars can be out the door, simply because you just couldn't keep it in your pants until the divorce was finalized. And so that is, again, cost benefit analysis. If it's worth it to you, then I suppose go for it. In most cases, it's not worth it. And so that's just something else that you do have to be mindful of if alimony is absolutely on the table for you. Now, can it affect child custody? Yes, it can affect child custody as well in different ways. One, you're introducing your children to a new romantic partner, and so you got to be careful, obviously, because that first partner might be the rebound gal or the rebound guy, and so introducing your children to that person too quickly, it can have lasting effect on your children. So you do want to be mindful of that. But more importantly, if someone is staying over, like overnights, them having access to your children, especially if you don't have, a relationship where you really understand this person, you really had an opportunity to get to know this person. It can, one, prove dangerous for your children, to be coming in contact with a stranger who is in your home. And then, it can also pop up in your divorce proceedings if, your spouse decides to, make that an issue. And so some judges will take issue with those new romantic partners who are doing overnights when the children are essentially in the home as well. So something to think about, and it can absolutely impact, what that custody might look like. And so we talked about the children's emotional well-being, and you just got to be mindful of whether or not that new relationship is going to present any type of safety concerns, and that's something that a judge will ultimately have to consider when they are thinking about the best interest of the children. Okay, remember that is the standard if you have been following us. Now, regarding equitable division, and we're covering kind of the big areas of divorce, where these are usually the main areas of contention. It's going to be custody, equitable division, things like alimony or spousal support. And so equitable division, of course, is the division of property. Georgia is not a 50-50 state. It is an equitable division state, which means that the courts will divide it upon basically what's fair, okay, to the parties, okay? And so sometimes that does not look like 50-50, and so it is what's equitably fair. So one of the things that dating alone is less problematic in this context. However, one thing you do have to be mindful of is that you are not allowed to diminish the marital estate pursuing, your romantic paramour or any type of romantic interest, okay? And so if you're pulling from resources that are part of the marital estate during dependency of your divorce, that could be a problem, okay? And so that might be something that your partner presents to the court, It might be something that essentially is, essentially made brought before the court by opposing counsel, especially if there's a forensic accountant involved, or if the opposing side is doing their due diligence in pulling your bank records, your debit card, credit card records, and it's established that, hey, you're taking these trips to the Bahamas, to St. Bart's, using a credit card that you guys essentially have joint control of, and you're both on the hook for paying the cost of it. So the question becomes, especially when you're considering, because remember, equitable division doesn't just mean assets; it also means dividing of debts. Whether or not your spouse is going to be on the hook for that debt that you have acquired going on these trips with your new romantic partner. Okay. And so those are things that can absolutely come back to haunt you if you are engaging in this type of conduct during the pendency of your divorce. Okay. Or if you're giving gifts, expensive gifts, and things of that nature again, or maybe you are liquidating assets that belong to the marital estate. Maybe you have investment properties and you're allowing your new significant other to live rent free in one of those investment properties, and again, you are essentially cheating the income that would basically go into the marital estate. Those are going to be concerns for opposing counsel, and concerns for the judge as well. So something else you do want to think about if you are, essentially using money that belongs, or credit that belongs to the marital estate. Now, dating, you have to also understand, just on a purely emotional just side of this, dating can essentially not just increase the cost of litigation, but just the animus regarding the feeling and emotions that are already very high between the parties, and that usually is a very, very bad idea. Okay. So a new relationship can lead to a whole new slew of discovery requests, requests for text messages, dating app records, more bank records, more credit card records, social media evidence, as well as being pulled into depositions. Not only that, and we've done this as well, we'll pull the paramour, we'll pull the new girlfriend, we'll pull the new boyfriend into the depositions as well. And you begin to peel back the layers of their life. Okay. And so, you just want to be very, very careful when you are engaging in, really dating during the dependency of your divorce, because it can make your divorce much more complicated, and it can pull in parties that should have nothing to do with the divorce itself. So you don't want more conflict, you don't want more cost, you don't want more stress. Or if you love those things, you're a glutton for punishment, then maybe it's something that you think about. Maybe you do go out there and see if you can get a new girlfriend, and just essentially muck up your divorce for the rest of the months, or however many years you guys might be litigating it. And if you just have that coin to burn, then maybe that's something that you think about. Social media, all right. So that's always a big one. No matter if we're talking about criminal cases or family law cases, we do always bring up the fact of social media. You just want to avoid posting. If you are dating, you do have a new guy friend, a new girlfriend. If you're posting vacation pics, right? So you're sitting in some vineyard in California or Italy with your new lady, or your new boyfriend. You just got to assume that all of those vacation pics, those romantic dinners and evenings, whatever's in your dating profile, just anticipate it being brought in as evidence in court. Okay. Those are going to be exhibits. All right. They're going to show them to the judge. They're going to show that Facebook picture, of you and your new significant other, walking down the streets or the canals of Venice, right? In the boats. Okay. Or, maybe, I don't know, in Poconos, or somewhere vacationing, okay, in Hawaii. So it's just something that you want to be mindful of because those exhibits are going to do nothing but harm your case. They're not going to help your case. They're going to do nothing but harm your case ultimately. Okay, so something that you want to think about. And then there's the emotional side of it. During these things, during divorce, there is an upside, believe it or not. That upside is, it can provide emotional support, right? Having another human that, essentially cares about you romantically, as you are, going through this divorce and separation. There is value in that. I don't want to suggest that there is not. It's just the timing of that, is something that you want to think about. Okay. And it's having that help and that companionship can be really, really helpful. And really, you can't put a price on that stuff. Okay. Divorce is hard, is one of those life events up there we talked about with bankruptcy and death. Okay. And so going through a divorce, does require a huge amount of human resources, and which is one of the reasons we strongly encourage things like therapy, reaching out to your spiritual advisor, leaning on family and friends. That is going to be, journaling, making sure you're hitting the gym, trying to, stir up those great, those good endorphins. That's going to be important to make sure that, you kind of see this thing through and, remain in good health and good, well-being, spiritual well-being. Okay. So something to think about. The cons are going to be, it's just going to increase conflict, especially when it's discovered. It's going to complicate settlement negotiations, distract you from your main case, create unnecessary stress for your kids, and make co-parenting more difficult. You don't believe me about the co-parenting? Usually, a lot of those legitimation cases, they come to us as soon as dad finds, a new romantic partner. As soon as that happens, a lot of times, this is just in legitimation cases. All of a sudden, it becomes super difficult to pick up the children. There's a lot of back and forth, and it's the same in divorce. All of a sudden, folks start engaging in parental alienation. Then you have to file contempt actions. It makes the fighting, more intense. And when the fighting becomes more intense, the lawyers are more active. The more active the lawyers, the higher the cost. Okay. And so some of this stuff people bring on themselves unnecessarily. A lot of it they bring on themselves unnecessarily. And I understand, having gone through divorce personally, when you're in it, sometimes, kids look like pawns, and it's unfortunate to say, or, people just do things to wound and hurt one another. And many times the attorneys are used as, both a sword as well as a shield. So something to think about, bringing on a new partner during the pendency of your divorce. Now, so when is it usually better to wait? I would say in all situations, it's better to wait. One, it gives you an opportunity to be by yourself for a second, process things, and, really see what your next steps are going to be. That's just, from a kind of a existential approach, but waiting for divorce to finalize, it helps reduce legal complications, does reduce conflict, improve your settlement opportunities as well. Because if you guys are amicable, it's a lot of times easier to settle a case than if you are going at one another's throats. It also helps the kids adjust better and allows you to focus on healing and to focus on your legal case. Okay. And so here are some practical tips and guides, advice, I should say, for you. You really want to ask yourself, if you're thinking about getting into a new relationship or you're already in one, will this help or hurt my case? All right. And that's usually a common sense answer. You don't need an attorney to really process that. Whether or not that new relationship is helping or is going to hurt your case? And how will the judge look at this new relationship I'm in? How will it affect my children? And then one question you got to ask is, hey, am I using marital money to, do whatever the things that me and my new partner are doing? And have I discussed this with my attorney? If you haven't discussed it with your attorney, you're in trouble. Okay, that's why you hired that guy or that gal to give you legal advice and counsel. Okay, so some of the times you're hiding things from your attorney because you know they're wrong. You already know what your attorney is going to say about it. Okay, and so it's something that you want to think about and be absolutely mindful of. Okay, so some common mistake that we see that you want to avoid are folks moving in with their new partner during a divorce. It's just there. I just don't see an upside. Some people do it, and they do it for their own reasons, personal reasons. But it just always seems like a bad idea. Introducing kids too quickly to the new partner. We talked a little bit about that earlier. Again, how it might impact children. Posting about the relationship online. Usually, people are doing that to wound their partner. Their soon-to-be ex-spouse. I don't see any other reason for it. And so engaging in that kind of conduct, usually all it's going to do is make the divorce nastier and more contentious. Okay, allowing emotions to dictate legal decisions. We see this quite often. We try to counsel our clients, about making emotional decisions and the human cost as well as the financial cost of it and how it might impact their divorce over the lifetime of their case. And then of course assuming just because you are separated from your soon-to-be ex-spouse that you could just really do anything you feel like doing romantically and there not be a real cost regarding your divorce. Okay. All right. So those are some things that you should absolutely think about. And so if you are really grappling with this question, just again, think about the facts of your case, whether your children are involved, whether alimony is disputed, how the property issued is going to be litigated, the property issues, and then your long-term goals. And then you just, as we talked about, do a cost-benefit analysis of whether or not this is going to be in your best interest. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for joining us for this session. As always, you are welcome if you are looking for legal counsel. If you are going through a divorce, right? You're welcome to set up a consultation with us. Feel free. We have a couple of numbers that you can give us a call at. One is going to be 404-999-9529. Or you can give us a call at 478-845-1213. Or you can go up there to the link in our bio and you can go ahead and schedule, or you can speak to one of our experts and schedule a time to chat with us. And we'd be more than happy to get on the horn and talk with you a little bit more about your case and see if we might be a good fit for representing you. Okay. As always, thank you for joining us. My name is Genghis Shakhan, and if we can help you out, we would be more than willing to do so. Have a great day.